Hey there, all you beautiful Broadway babies. Welcome back to Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Bonanni, and this is episode 28 of Broadway Jeopardy. There's a new episode of Broadway Jeopardy every week, so make sure you're subscribed so you won't miss an episode. There's 26 all-new clues waiting in the wings, so let's get right to this week's game. This is Broadway Jeopardy! Looking at this week's categories, we start off as always with last week's Final Jeopardy category, which is Broadway Choreographers, looking at just a few of the great choreographers of Broadway's past and present. That's followed by On the Farm, taking a gander at some barnyard animals that have appeared in or been mentioned in different musicals. After that, we have Comedy Tonight. Yes, it's another all-straight play category, looking at some hilarious comedies that have appeared on Broadway. Then we have Sister Sister, looking at some sisters in various shows. And last but not least, we have Based on a Foreign Film, which, you guessed it, looks at some musicals based on foreign films. And we end with the Final Jeopardy round, so make sure and keep track of your scores if you wish, so you can wager some of it, or all of it, on that final question. We start off, of course, with the $200 round, or the overture round as I call it, where the questions tend to be fairly easy to help you rack up some dough before the questions become more difficult later in the game. Starting off with the Broadway Choreographers category, your first $200 clue is: this iconic choreographer, who brought his signature sexy style to shows like Chicago and Sweet Charity, also got a whole review of his work in 1999. Who is Bob Fosse? One of Bob Fosse's big breaks came in 1953 in the film version of Kiss Me Kate. Fosse played one of Bianca's suitors in the musical film, which was choreographed by Hermes Pan. One day, Ann Miller, one of the film's stars, saw Fosse working with his dance partner on some new and exciting choreography, and Ann Miller approached Hermes Pan and suggested he let Fosse choreograph his own section of the song From This Moment On, and thankfully he listened and did just that. Fosse's dance section is a standout moment in the movie, and you can instantly see his signature style come into being. His partner in this section, by the way, is Carol Haney, a Broadway star in her own right who would work with Fosse many times, including as the original Steam Heat dancer. Moving on to On the Farm, your next $200 clue is: chicks and ducks and geese better scurry when Curly comes calling on Laurie in this Rodgers and Hammerstein musical. What is... That was my real voice, by the way. The line "chicks and ducks and geese better scurry" is from the song Surrey with the Fringe on Top, one of my favorite songs in the show. It's a bouncy, lighthearted bit of flirting between Curly and Laurie towards the top of the show. In the 2019 revival of Oklahoma, Surrey with the Fringe on Top became, well, super sexy. The song, as well as the production as a whole, was so seemingly drastically reimagined when not a word of dialogue was actually changed. I thought it was a fascinating, if only mostly successful experiment.
Don't take my arm too much. Don't keep your hand in mine.
Taking in a play now with the Comedy Tonight category, the $200 clue there is: a production of The Murder at Haversham Manor doesn't go according to plan in this hilarious play from the Mischief Theatre Company from England. What is The Play That Goes Wrong is the answer. The Play That Goes Wrong was written by Henry Shields, Jonathan Sayer, and Henry Lewis, some of the founding members of the Mischief Theatre Company. The show first premiered in a tiny theater above a pub in 2012 before moving to the West End proper in 2014. Since then, the Mischief Theater Company has emerged as one of the best and most loved troupe of actors and writers, and have premiered several more shows including Peter Pan Goes Wrong, the play about the bank robbery, Magic Goes Wrong, and many, many more. They also got their own TV show on the BBC, The Brilliant Goes Wrong Show.
Hello, Harper. Hello, Harper.
Oh, good afternoon, Miss Fennick.
And hello, Treacle. How are you, girl?
Nay.
The next $200 clue in the sister-sister category is, in Rodgers and Hammerstein's version of this musical fairy tale, the pair of evil stepsisters are named Portia and Joy. What is Cinderella? It seems Cinderella's evil stepsisters, in the musical version at least, change their names every time there's a new production. As the clue states, the original '57 television musical had them named Joy and Portia. In the 1965 Leslie Ann Warren version, they were named Prunella and Esmeralda. In the 1997 Brandy version, the pair are named Calliope and Minerva. And in the Broadway debut version in 2014, they were named Charlotte and Gabrielle. What's the deal there? And even in the famous Disney version, they had new names, Anastasia and Drusilla. So odd. And finishing up the overture round in the based on a foreign film category, your final $200 clue is, this 1984 hit musical from Jerry Herman is based on the French film of the same name, the same film that inspired the movie The Birdcage. What is La Cage aux Folles is the answer. Technically, the musical La Cage aux Folles is based on the French play La Cage aux Folles, which itself was adapted to the film. The French film La Cage aux Folles came out, no pun intended, in 1978 and was a big success. While there is no musical sequel to the musical La Cage aux Folles, or to the film The Birdcage for that matter, the original French film of La Cage aux Folles has had 2 sequels throughout the years. In La Cage aux Folles 2, drag performer Alban unknowingly is in possession of some stolen microfilm which lead both the government and various evil spies after Alban and his husband Renato, who hide out in Italy in that film. The third La Cage aux Folles 3, The Wedding, finds Alban about to inherit a fortune from a relative which would save him and his partner's struggling drag club, but he first must marry a woman and father a child. Maybe someday we'll see a musical sequel to La Cage aux Folles. We'll see. I hope you all racked up the full $1,000 with that first round. Let's move on to the only slightly harder $400 round now. Circling back to Broadway choreographers, your first $400 clue is, among his many shows, this choreographer created the greatest musical about Broadway dancers ever, A Chorus Line, in 1975. Who is Michael Bennett? One of Broadway's best choreographers from shows like Company, Follies, Promises, Promises, and eventually Dreamgirls, Bennett got a group of dancers together to hold sessions discussing their lives and the business and what dancing means to them, and he put all that into A Chorus Line, making it one of the most honest looks into the world of dancing and theater ever created. A Chorus Line would be the longest running show on Broadway for years, until another dance-focused musical, Cats, surpassed it. Taking a trip to the On the Farm category gives us the $400 clue. In Act 1 of Gypsy, Louise gets a certain barnyard animal as a gift for her birthday, prompting her to sing this song. What is Little Lamb? As the clue states, Louise is given a baby lamb for her birthday. In some productions, a stuffed lamb or lamb puppet is used, like the revival in 2008 with Patti LuPone, or the current revival starring Audra McDonald, which is excellent, by the way. I got to see it this past weekend. Other productions like the 2003, 1989, and 1974 revivals have followed suit with the original production and actually had a live lamb on stage for this one scene and song. Broadway's animal master William Berloni has stated that for the 2003 revival, the little lamb got actually a little bit more salary each week than some of the ensemble members. Pays to be a barnyard animal on Broadway, I guess. The $400 clue in the Comedy Tonight category is, This comedy by Michael Frayn sees a company of actors rehearsing, performing, and closing a play called Nothing On. Misunderstandings, mishaps, and plenty of door slamming ensues. What is Noises Off is the correct answer. The riotous funny play first opened in London in 1982 before moving to Broadway a year later. A film version came out in 1992, and despite the impressive film cast including John Ritter, Michael Caine, Christopher Reeve, and Carol Burnett, the movie just couldn't quite capture the magic of the live stage version. I saw the first Broadway revival of the play in 2001, starring Peter Gallagher, Faith Prince, Katie Finneran, and Patti LuPone. I will never forget that day because, in the show, there's 3 acts, and the set for this revival, at least, I'm assuming it's similar for others, is facing the front for Act 1. It's then rotated around, and you're watching the action from backstage of this set for Act 2, and then it's rotated back for Act 3 to the front. So Act 1 goes off without a hitch, so does Act 2, and then as the curtain closed and they did a little pause to rotate the stage, we heard in the audience this horrendous wooden crunch, and we just knew that something terrible had gone wrong. And sure enough, T.R. Knight, actually, one of the actors in the show, came out without his accent. He had a British accent in the show, and with his regular American accent said, yeah, folks, there's been a little issue. We're going to have to take a 15 to 20 minute hold and get the set back in working order. When suddenly Patti LuPone herself burst through the curtain and said, don't worry, folks, I'll entertain you. And we got a little 15-minute impromptu a cappella concert from Patti LuPone. Definitely one of my more memorable theater-going experiences. Let's have some family time with Sister Sister and the $400 clue. Sisters Celie and Nettie are separated for 30 years in this musical based on the Alice Walker novel of the same name. What is The Color Purple? The musical version of The Color Purple is amazing, and though the show first opened on Broadway in 2005, it's already had an acclaimed revival in 2015. Both the original Celie LaChanze and the revival Celie Cynthia Erivo won Tony Awards for their work on the show. But the role of Nettie seems to also lead to some Tony Awards. The original Nettie was none other than Renee Elise Goldsberry, star of the hilarious show Girls Five Eva, and the original Angelica Schuyler in Hamilton, which won her a Tony. The Nettie in the acclaimed 2015 revival was Joaquina Culacango, who would later win the Tony for Best Actress in a Musical in 2022 for Paradise Square. And in the based on a foreign film category, your final $400 clue is... Stephen Sondheim is no stranger to adapting foreign films into musical masterpieces. This musical, based on an Italian film, won him the 1994 Tony Award for Best Musical. What is Passion? This sumptuous musical is based on the Italian film Passione di Amore from 1981, directed by Ettore Scola. Sondheim himself was the one who first saw the film and said that the unwritten songs for a musical version were instantly brimming in his mind. The Italian film is based on the novel Fosca from 1869. I've spoken before about the brilliant performance of original Fosca, Donna Murphy, but several other wonderful actors have played the role in various productions throughout the years, including Patti LuPone, Maria Friedman in the original London production, Eleanor Roger, Judy Kuhn, and Ruthie Henshaw. Jazz walking right into the $600 round now, and the Broadway Choreographers category, we have the clue. This sought-after choreographer has won praise and Tony Awards for his work on the shows In the Heights, Bandstand, and Hamilton. Who is Andy Blankenbuehler is the answer. Besides the 3 shows I mentioned in the clue, which he won Tonys for, Andy Blankenbuehler also choreographed the shows Bring It On and 9 to 5, as well as the 2019 film version of Cats. The next $600 clue in the On the Farm category is... In Wicked, the character of Dr. Dillamond is this type of barnyard animal. What is a goat? In the film version, Dr. Dillerman is voiced by actor Peter Dinklage. The original Dr. Dillerman on Broadway was William Humans, who also created the role of John Jacob Astor in the musical Titanic. He returned to Wicked in 2023 in his original role. So if you see the show today, you'll have the thrill of seeing an original Broadway cast member of Wicked in their role. Tragedy tomorrow, comedy and this $600 clue tonight. This classic comedy from Noel Coward finds a divorced couple honeymooning next door to each other with their new spouses. Their passion for each other is soon reignited, as is their epic fights. What is Private Lives? The play originally premiered in 1930 in London, starring Gertrude Lawrence and Noel Coward himself as the ex-spouses, with Laurence Olivier as the new groom. The play has been revived many times throughout the years. I've actually seen 2 Broadway revivals in my time, one with Lindsay Duncan and Alan Rickman, and another with Kim Cattrall and Paul Gross. Many other wonderful actors have played the leading lovers to enemies to lovers again, including Tallulah Bankhead, Tammy Grimes, Elaine Stritch, Maggie Smith, and Elizabeth Taylor and her own off-again, on-again husband, Richard Burton. Next up for Sister Sister, your $600 clue is... Sisters Anna and Elsa in Frozen lost their parents in this kind of accident. What is a shipwreck? In the original 2014 film, we saw that their parents clearly went missing after setting sail on a large boat, and it was believed that they died. I mean, there was a whole funeral and everything. But there was a long-running theory that Anna and Elsa's parents did not die on the ship, but were instead shipwrecked on an island where their mother would eventually give birth to a son who would grow up to be Tarzan, linking those 2 Disney films. It was a fun theory that many actually believed might come true, until sadly Frozen 2 confirmed that the parents were lost at sea. Though now that I think about it, didn't the parents in Tarzan get killed and eaten by a jaguar or a leopard or something? I don't know. I guess they're in for an unfortunate demise no matter what. That's being a Disney parent for you. And let's turn on the subtitles for the based on a foreign film category and the $600 clue. This whimsical short-lived show from 2017, based on the hit 2001 French film of the same name, starred Philippa Soo in the title role. What is Amélie? The musical version of the popular French film first premiered in Berkeley, California in 2015, where it starred Samantha Barks in the title role. The show's next stop on the road to Broadway was in 2016 in Los Angeles, California, now starring Philippa Soo, who would take the show to Broadway a year later in 2017. The musical was not well received here in New York, though, to be honest, I found the show pretty charming. It closed on Broadway in less than 3 months. In 2020, a heavily revised version opened in London to a much better reception and was even nominated for Best Musical at the 2020 Olivier Awards.
They say times are hard for dreamers, and who knows, maybe they are. People seem stuck or lost at sea. And I might be a dreamer, but it's gotten me this far, and that is far enough for me.
It's time to really crank up the difficulty level with the $800 round now, but before we do, you know the drill. If you're enjoying this week's game, please, oh pretty please, take the second to hit that little like button for me. It really helps with the almighty YouTube algorithm and getting these videos shown to more fine folks like yourselves, but also gives me a really nice false sense of accomplishment. I kid. But seriously, I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you all so much for hitting that like button for me. Okay, let's tap dance into the $800 round now. You guys couldn't see my feet, but I was tap dancing up a storm just then. It was very impressive. Back at Broadway Choreographers, your first $800 clue is one of the first great director/choreographers. This man set Broadway dancing with shows like Bye Bye Birdie, Hello Dolly, and 42nd Street. Who is Gower Champion is the answer. Gower Champion, along with his then wife Marge Champion, were a dance team who appeared in several movie musicals, including Jupiter's Darling, Lovely to Look At, and the 1951 remake of Showboat. On Broadway, however, he became a hugely respected choreographer, being nominated 15 times for the Tony for direction and/or choreography, winning 8 times. Hopping on a tractor to the On the Farm category brings us the $800 clue. In the musical Pippin, when Pippin stays with mother and son, Catherine and Theo, Theo has this animal as a pet. What is a duck? Little Theo loves his pet duck and is devastated when it gets sick. Pippin does his best to cheer Theo up and maybe even heal the animal in the song Prayer for a Duck. It sadly doesn't work though. R.I.P. Theo's duck.
In the arms of the angel, fly away from here.
Moving on to the $800 clue in the Comedy Tonight category gives us this play about a quote-unquote dumb blonde who outsmarts her corrupt and vulgar boyfriend with the help of her new tutor originally starred Judy Holliday, who recreated the role on film. What is Born Yesterday? Born Yesterday premiered on Broadway in 1946. Judy Holliday played Billy Dawn, a ditzy mistress to Harry Brock, a powerful junk dealer who is doing some shady dealings in Washington, D.C. When her lack of education and social graces start to impact his business dealings, Harry hires a tutor for Billy. The tutoring works better than anyone could have hoped, and she soon wises up to many things, including how corrupt Harry really is. Oh brother, the $800 clue in the sister-sister category is... In this musical from 1997, sisters Violet and Daisy Hilton never leave each other's side. What is Sideshow? Based on the real-life sisters Violet and Daisy Hilton, they never leave each other's side in the musical because they physically can't. Daisy and Violet were conjoined twins who were part of the circus sideshows in the 1920s and 30s and appeared in the classic 1932 film Freaks. The original musical starred Emily Skinner and Alice Ripley as the sisters, and the pair made history by being nominated together for a Tony Award. The short-lived musical received an even shorter-lived revival in 2014, starring Aaron Davey and Emily Paget.
No, I will never leave you. I will never leave. I will never go away. We were meant to share each moment. Beside you is where I will stay. That's where I will stay.
And in the Based on a Foreign Film category, your last $800 clue is... In The Band's Visit, based on the Israeli film of the same name, the character of Dina sings this song about her favorite movie star growing up. What is Omar Sharif? Omar Sharif was a beloved film actor originally from Egypt who starred in films like Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, and Funny Girl as Fanny Brice's gambler husband Nick Arnstein. In the musical The Band's Visit, the hauntingly beautiful song Omar Sharif is sung by Dina to bandleader Tufik as they bond over their childhoods watching the films of Omar Sharif, as well as Egyptian actress Kulthum.
Kulthum and Omar Sharif came floating on a jasmine wind.
And now, my friends, we've reached that point. The big show, the main event. It's the $1,000 round. Cue that dramatic music. Good luck, players. Leaping back to the Broadway choreographers category one last time gives us the $1,000 clue. This musical theater legend made history with the original production of Oklahoma, effectively inventing the Dream Ballet. Who is Agnes de Mille? Agnes de Mille is one of the most significant creators in the history of American musical theater. While working with the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, de Mille premiered a quote-unquote cowboy musical set in the Old West called Rodeo, which was a massive success. There on opening night of Rodeo were Richard Rodgers and Oscar Hammerstein II, who immediately asked her to be part of their new musical, Oklahoma. Miss DeMille's work on Oklahoma is one of the biggest reasons why the musical became the landmark show that began Broadway's golden age in 1943. Really, for the first time, dance was used to continue the storytelling of a musical. It was a radical idea at the time. Miss DeMille also choreographed the original productions of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Paint Your Wagon, and Brigadoon, winning her the first ever Tony Award for Best Choreography. She would continue to choreograph until 1992, a year before she died at the age of 88. Moving on to the On the Farm category gives us the $1,000 clue. Several cows meet a gruesome end in this musical with songs like Another Dead Cow and Apologies to a Cow. What is Bat Boy the Musical? In the show, the small town's cows are becoming weak and emaciated, like something is draining the blood from the animals. Later in the show, Bat Boy, who is now called Edgar, succumbs to his primal thirst and kills a cow to feed. He later sings the song Apology to a Cow to the severed head of the bovine. The last laugh in the Comedy Tonight category for $1,000 is this 1960 farce about a man with many flight attendant girlfriends who are all unexpectedly in town at the same time was revived in 2008 on Broadway, starring Bradley Whitford and Christine Baranski. What is Boeing? Boeing is the answer. The play was written in 1960 by French playwright Marc Camoletti. The English translation, starring David Tomlinson from the films Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks, was a huge hit in London in 1962, running there for 7 years. But the play flopped in the US, running only 20 performances in 1965. The 2008 revival thankfully ran much longer than that, picking up a few Tonys along the way, including Best Revival of a Play. In the Sister Sister category, or as it sounds in my head, the category, the $1,000 clue is 2/3 of the famous Andrews Sisters starred in this musical from 1974, which revisited the bygone World War II era of movie musicals like the ones the Andrews Sisters originally starred in. What is Over Here? The Andrews Sisters were 3 sisters who topped the charts in the 1940s with their close harmonies and patriotic songs. The sisters were featured in movies like Hollywood Canteen and Buck Privates with Abbott and Costello, where they sing their hit song Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. In 1974, Maxine and Patty Andrews made their Broadway debuts in Over Here. The third Andrews sister, Laverne, had passed away in 1967. The score for the musical was by the Sherman brothers, Richard and Robert Sherman, known for the dozens of hits for various Walt Disney films. This was their only score written specifically for Broadway, though. The nostalgic World War II era musical has become somewhat legendary for its ensemble, many of whom would go on to major careers of their own, including Mary Lou Henner, Ann Reiking, Treat Williams, Samuel E. Wright, and John Travolta. And the curtain call clue in the Based on a Foreign Film category for $1,000 is this flop musical, based on the Federico Fellini film of the same name, had a score by Lionel Bart and starred Larry Kert and Bernadette Peters. What is La Strada is the answer. This one's a pretty deep cut, I must say. Kudos if you got this one. That was hard. As the clue stated, the musical is based on the Fellini film La Strada, a heavy drama about a young girl named Gelsomina, who is sold into circus life by her mother, where she's under the control of the abusive Zampano, a circus strongman. When her skills as a clown are discovered, she becomes a circus star and befriends a fellow circus clown, the warm and caring Mario, who is killed in a jealous rage by Zampano before abandoning Gelsomina on the road to die. If that doesn't sound like a fun night entertainment, you apparently would be right. Even with a breakout performance by Bernadette Peters as Gelsomina, after 2 weeks of previews in 1969, the musical closed on its opening night. And with that, we've reached the final Jeopardy round. Time to tally up those scores and decide how confident you feel in the category Christmas time. Yes, next week will be the Christmas-themed episode. I decided to do it next week rather than the day after Christmas. So in this category, we're looking at some shows that are not necessarily Christmas musicals, but are set around or have a scene set at Christmas. Okay, has everyone made their wagers? Richard? Robert? Beck? Okay, here is your final clue. In this musical, written by Janine Tesori and Tony Kushner, we do get a nod to Christmas, though the musical focuses more on Hanukkah, especially in the song The Hanukkah Party. What is Caroline or Change is the answer. Caroline or Change is the story of a black maid to a white Jewish family in 1963. It's a complex and multi-layered musical drama that originally starred Tanya Pinkins in the title role. Christmas gets mentioned in the song Santa's Coming, Caroline, but this musical is one of the very few that also shine a light on Hanukkah, with the young son of Caroline's employers, the Gelman family, explaining the Jewish holiday to Caroline's children who are there to help her mother work the family's Hanukkah party. A revival of the musical, Caroline or Change, started in London in 2018 before arriving back on Broadway in 2021, starring the wonderful Sharon D. Clarke.
Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, from Astrakhan to Panama, all along that isthmus we're celebrating Hanukkah, especially in America.
A whole week more than Christmas.
And that's this week's game! How did you all fare this week? Were you a singular sensation or did you lay an egg? Be sure to let me know in the comments. I absolutely love hearing from you guys and seeing how you did. As I mentioned, next week will be our Christmas-themed episode, so you can study up for that. If you're enjoying Broadway Jeopardy and want to help it continue, please share these videos with family and friends and everyone on social media. I'm really hoping to grow these videos, but it's been a struggle. I'll just be completely honest with you guys, and I could really use your help. Yes, you right there. I need your help. You're looking really great, by the way. Have you lost weight? Another huge way to support me in the channel is by joining the Patreon. These beautiful people here, as well as all the gorgeous people at all levels on Patreon, are my favorite people on the planet, and I could not do this without them. I'm also going to be looking at Patreon soon and sort of restructuring things a bit over there and tweaking the reward levels, so check that out if you want. There is a link in the video description, as well as a link to my merch shop, yet another great way to support the channel. You can follow me on most social media platforms, including Blue Sky and Instagram at bwayghostlight. I'll be back next Thursday with episode 29, but until then, I'm Mark Benani. This is Broadway by Ghostlight. Thanks for playing.